It's the Dedrique Taylor Coaches Show. I'm Brandon Marcus, your host, and that is the man, Dedrique Taylor, the head coach of Cal State Fullerton. We're back for another episode. Coach, what's up?
Not much, man. Just trying to figure this whole mess out.
Hey, and it was a mess. It was indeed, with you guys getting shut down for a little bit, which seems like a lot of teams are doing now. I think Gonzaga, the number one team in the nation, is now going to pause for about a week or so. You guys are back on the floor, though, and you guys are in action. What was the last couple of days like?
It was pretty good. I think Friday was the first day, and so you have that new excitement. The night before Christmas, you get a chance to restart, so to speak, and so the guys were fresh. The guys were mentally locked in. We had a good workout on Friday, and we didn't do much contact, if any contact at all. We just refreshed what we had been doing the last 3 weeks, and hoping like they can remember, what an underneath out of bounds action is, or side out of bounds action is, and some things have suffered obviously just because of the 14-day time off. But I thought the guys were pretty good on Friday, and they were good halfway through the practice on Saturday. And I thought mentally, they got fatigued, and things weren't as sharp as we would have liked to be. And then obviously we took today off to try to give them an opportunity to regroup and re-engage. And then, Monday we'll get right back after it.
And what does this week look like?
This week's busy, super, super busy. We'll play a Division II school Wednesday, and then we'll travel down to San Diego and play them on Friday. And then we'll come back and try to play another game on Sunday. So basically this week we'll have 3 games, just trying to get back on the court, or not get on the court actually, for an official game. We haven't done that up to now. Somebody texted me earlier and asked me how our season was going. And I was like, what season? What does that mean? It's weird to watch all these other teams playing, and realize that we haven't even played our first college game. Some of these guys, as of today, have not even been into the locker room, so they don't even know where it is, to actually go there and then actually function in the locker room. So it's going to be a new deal, and everybody's going to be trying to figure out, in a lot of ways, which way is up, which is fine. We expect mistakes. The big thing for me is just I don't care about the mistakes. I care about the response after the mistake, and then obviously don't make the same mistake twice, and that then we really are moving.
They hadn't been in the locker room at all.
No, some of the guys, if you remember correctly, we signed 6 of our 8 guys during the late signing period.
Right.
During that time, there were no official visits. So they did not get a chance to see campus. They didn't get a chance to meet us face to face. They didn't get a chance to walk in the gym or the locker room or anything. And so they took a leap of faith, and obviously we're super grateful. And even still, after a couple of practices, we're still super grateful that they chose us. But even still, they haven't seen a lot of campus. They're virtual, so they haven't been on campus, so to speak, in a campus classroom. None of the above. So they don't really know, or they don't get a chance to get the full Fullerton experience in terms of being on campus.
Wow. So what was it like before you guys got shut down then? They hadn't even been able to go into the locker room and see what that was like?
No, it's weird. It's weird. They basically come in the gym. They have to get checked in and take their temperature, and they have to get a bracelet every day that they come, and they have to get checked in. And then we have these chairs with their names on along the bleachers. I think that's the north side of the gym, along the bleachers, and they're probably set at least 6, maybe 8 feet away from each other. And they do everything there. They get dressed there. They get undressed there. Different this year, we outsource our laundry, for their sake and the safety sake, and so on and so forth. And so they do everything right there. I mean, they have these little buckets, and within this bucket, for practice, they'll have 3 or 4 water things. They'll have a hand sanitizer. They have some other stuff inside the bucket, but basically it's theirs until we know otherwise.
Wow, man, that's 2020 in a nutshell for you.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I can't even imagine being a player and starting your collegiate career as an athlete and having to go through this. It seems impossible, but at the same time, it's going to have to be possible.
Yeah, we're gonna have to make the best of it, and again, embrace the suck. It is crappy that we have to endure all of this, but we are enduring nonetheless, and we're going to try to make the best out of the situation, no matter what, because we are expected to play from an NCAA standpoint. Um, and I feel bad for them too. I looked at a couple of our freshmen, like they have no idea what's coming, what's about to happen. But everybody's in, and everybody is in the same boat and trying to push forward. So that's all you can ask for at this point.
Yeah, and they got a season that's about to start. We're going to release this hopefully either Tuesday or Wednesday. And so basically, there's going to be a game coming up right when this is released. And so I promised last episode that we would talk about the roster. And so that's what today's episode is going to be like, the roster. At the end of the show, we'll do the mailbag.
Sure.
Remember, you can email us, detailercoachesshow@gmail.com. Of course, rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. It'd be awesome if you give us that 5-star rating, review it as well. It does help as we try and grow. And I mean, you're getting some exclusive access here, some really incredible insight from a head coach right now during the season, during COVID. All right, Dedrique, let's start. Before we get to the guys that are on the roster, I want to look back quickly at what you're going to miss with the guys that are gone. If I'm not mistaken, 4 of your top 5 scorers are gone, including a guy that was huge for your program for a number of years in Jackson Rowe. Also, Austin Owishika, who is really good invaluable, kind of a Swiss Army knife, did a bunch of different things for you. What are you going to miss from those guys when you look towards this season?
Probably the first thing that jumps off the page is just their experience within our program. Like having them on the floor, you could say or do things that you had never practiced before, but because of their familiarity with it, they kind of knew what to do with it, and they knew what to do while you just called it out, and they would go out and execute it. And so we kind of have to start from scratch, so to speak, with 8 new guys, even though we have some returning guys. A majority of our team is brand new. So with Jackson and Austin and Devon, I mean, you're talking about guys that played for our program for 3-4 years, and we're going to miss that experience just because, they've been here, they've done that, they've seen it from the bottom, they've seen it from the top and everything in between. And so we're going to miss those guys, but I'm super proud to say that all of our seniors, including Brandon Kamga, he's not a senior, he's a graduate transfer, but all of those guys have signed contracts to play professional basketball. And so that's what it's about. It's about getting degrees. It's about winning games, and it's about signing professional contracts and becoming professional. That's the mantra of our program is to develop you. And it doesn't mean just the basketball thing. It means across the whole board in every aspect of development. And those guys, I think, are the epitome of our program because they spent the most time in our program.
Mm-hmm. And now you have a very deep roster and one that you're going to rely on, like we've said, on pretty much everybody. And you don't really know who's going to be that leading scorer night to night. You're going to hope that it's a number of guys that you said, about 3 or 4, that you hope get into double figures each night. You look at the roster now, you have 3 freshmen, 4 sophomores, 6 juniors, and 2 seniors is the breakdown. If I'm not mistaken, let's start with the oldest class, the seniors.
Yeah.
Talk to me about those couple of seniors and who they are and what your expectations are for their role this season.
I think I'll start with Johnny Wang. He's a guy, local guy, so to speak. He comes to us from Santa Margarita High School via China. That's where he's originally from, and so again, he's a 4th-year senior. He's been in our program. The experience that he brings to the program is invaluable. Even some of the things that he said today, they represent his growth and represent him being a senior and a more mature guy. But again, we're looking for him to kind of hunker down the inside and protect the paint, protect the middle. He's 6'9" and probably added some weight, and he looks about as good as anybody can look. At this point, I mean, he looks like he hasn't missed a beat and looks like he eats weights, quite frankly. But again, he's a skilled guy. I think we're learning a lot about him in terms of putting him on the floor and letting him face the basket and have an opportunity to see the floor and make decisions based on that, as opposed to playing with his back to the basket. I think we're going to get both things going this year. And then obviously Josh Hall is a graduate transfer for us. He hasn't been in our program, but he's played Division One, 3 out of those years. And not only has he played it, but he's numbered exceptionally well and numbered really, really high in the tournament. And so again, we look to our team and look at our roster from a maturity base and an experience base, at least just being on the floor. A lot of our majority of our of our roster doesn't have experience in our program, but they've been guys that have played other places, and so they have a great deal of experience. But those are two of the seniors that we're looking to provide a great deal of that leadership from for us, moving forward.
And then you've got your juniors, Jalen, Christian, Trey, Landis, Jalen, and Wayne. Obviously, the name that stands out is obviously Wayne Arnold. What are your expectations for Wayne this year?
My expectations are just to continue to grow and continue to develop and continue to evolve into the player that we think he can be. Continue to attack the game from a decision making standpoint, but again, I think letting us see that he is a guy that can shoot and an offensive weapon that you have to reckon with. I think he's grown and developed a great deal because he's bought in defensively and really shown some growth in that area. And again, physically, he just looks different than everybody else because he's been in our program. He's been a part of our weight program, and his body suggests that he's been a part of that. And again, he's a guy that's a junior. He's been in our program for 2 years. He knows what to do, what to expect. So we're going to lean on him in a large fashion in that capacity.
And then the other five juniors, talk to me about the expectations for them. I mean, you've got a bunch of transfers in this group.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for a coach to flat out say, yeah, these are the guys that are going to produce that we expect to produce more than the others. But realistically, who are the ones you expect early on to play more minutes and that you're going to ride throughout the year?
I think Jalen Harris is another guy that will put in that position because we're going to give him the ball, and most importantly, we need him to stay healthy because we need his leadership, we need his voice, we need his ability to galvanize the rest of the group just by what he says and just by his mere presence. He calms them down a little bit and kind of gives them a sense of direction, and that's what he's been for us, and that's what he's been all of his life. Again, he's a local guy that had to go to a prep school, and he went to Casper community college, and we're really fortunate to have him. But he is a guy, a lefty, in fact, that can shoot the three. But again, he's a get downhill guy, and he's a pass first point guard. He can score with the best of them, but again, his bread's buttered, setting those other guys up, and I think you'll see him do that. And I think you'll see, more importantly, our guys look for him to become that moving forward. And so he's a guy, just his voice. He's so mature. He's almost a coach on the floor. It'd be nice to have him on the floor so we can move forward that way.
And then tell me about Christian McCray.
Christian is another guy that I think he was California Junior College Player of the Year. And so he just has an uber amount of talent, like athleticism. He's long, he's 6'6", and can shoot the three. He can put it on the floor and do a little bit of everything from a scoring standpoint. Defensively, he hawks the ball up the floor and can really guard the ball. And so we're really looking for him again to bring his expertise and his experience, even though it's at the junior college level, bring it to us because he's been on the floor and he's been a part of a winning program. I'd be remiss to say that Jalen wasn't the same. A guy that understands what it takes to win. He knows what winning looks like. Obviously, we have to teach him, what it looks like to win at Fullerton, but he comes from a winning culture, a winning background, just like Chris. And that was something that's important to us moving forward. Just guys that understand what winning looks like.
And then you have another transfer, obviously, in Trey Maddox, who spent 2 years at Oakland, played 2 years there. What was it that you saw in him that made you want to bring him to Cal State Fullerton?
Trey just looks the part. I mean, he looks like he should be lining up on Sundays, running the 9 route. Literally, he's 6'5". He's probably 205. I mean, he's chiseled. He looks great. And again, he has the maturity of being a Division I player at the University of Oakland. And we have a great deal of respect for what they do and how they do it. And so his knowledge of the game, I think, will help our program down the run, down the stretch there, just simply because he's a guy who can shoot the three. He's another guy who can get in the paint and cause all kind of havoc. He's another guy that should be able to live at the free throw line because he can kind of do everything. He can pass, he can score, but then I think most importantly, he can defend 1 through 4 easy. Easy. He gives us that length and gives us the opportunity to switch 1 through 4 and be a physical presence defensively.
Landis Spivey, 3-point shooter.
He's another guy from the California junior colleges. that just he has the experience and he has winning experience. He comes from Columbia Community College where they won a great deal, but he can really, really shoot it and really, really shot it there. And, not having the spring and the summer to get in some type of shape and some type of conditioning, I think is hurting everybody. I think it's hurting college basketball in general. But I think moving forward, he'll be a guy that you have to contend with him when he's on the floor and make it a 4-on-4 game because he shoots the ball really, really well. And again, he's 6'6", maybe even 6'7". He's got great length and long arms. And he's one of those guys that really, really understands what he does in terms of stretching the defense and his ability. I mean, I was laughing at him earlier. He was saying that, don't close out with their hands down. He was teasing his teammates, don't close out with their hands down or else you're going to pay for it. And so we're looking for him to be that guy, something that we've coveted from that particular position since our time here.
And then you look at a guy like Jalen Andrews, that's a bigger dude, 6'8", 220 pounds. Correct me if I'm wrong. Kind of a comparison a little bit to Josh Pitts. Is there any similarity there, or am I going out on a limb?
No, the only similarity is that they both are light skinned. Probably
Okay.
going on a limb there.
Okay.
They're Josh is right handed, and he's kind of a back to the basket kind of guy. Where Jalen is probably his bread's butter probably facing the basket. He's
Okay.
a lefty. He can shoot threes. He doesn't put it on the floor a great deal, but again, he's a guy. His decision making and his ability to shoot, I think, will put the defense in peril and make them make a decision with him on the floor. Again, he's a guy you can throw it to on the block and expect some good things to happen, whether he scores it or he posts to pass. Again, he's another dual guy that we're really, really excited about. Coming to us all the way from Mississippi, and I tell you what, it's really, really hard to take him serious when he's saying stuff, when he's explaining stuff because of his accent. Obviously, as Californians aren't used to, we're not used to that. But I could call him any time of the day, and when we were recruiting him, and I'd be like, what are you doing, Jalen? He'd be like, Coach, I'm out here fishing. I mean, and that's like he's happy as all get out, fishing. So that's something that we're obviously going to have to get used to. But we're super excited about his growth and the opportunity to be a part of his development because I think the sky is the limit for a guy like that. Again, once he gets himself into shape and can stay healthy, that's the big thing for him and really for the rest of our team is just staying healthy and staying on the court.
The one thing with him obviously is a 6'8", and so he's going to be a big guy in this conference. And so that I bring up Josh because you have not many posts in the league. It really seems like there's more wings in this league, and it's very wing driven. So uh, perhaps some minutes because of all because of the random bigs that you'll face here and there.
Yeah, you could easily see him being a post for us, but kind of playing 4-5, 5-4, if you will. If you have to put the numbers to it, because like you said, it's an undersized conference, with the exception of maybe Santa Barbara and maybe UC Irvine, who have girth and length. But again, even putting Jalen at that position, those guys have to contend with him on the perimeter, and I think it's not a good matchup for them if we're able to take advantage of it.
Okay, so then let's go to your sophomores. You have four of them. Talk to me about the one that stands out the most to you. There's several of them. There's Raul Torres, there's Vincent Lee, there's Torrey San Antonio, and there is Cameron Carter.
I would imagine that Vincent Lee would be a guy because he played minutes,
Mm-hmm.
because he logged some time for us. He even started some games for us. And again, his growth and his maturity is through the roof in terms of how he handles himself. And I would imagine he's probably what the University of Nevada saw he could be. He's shown himself to be that. And then the other thing I think you have to realize with Vincent is that this is the first summer with us. Obviously, he wasn't with us because of COVID, but this is the first time he's injury free. Last summer coming into the season, he had reconstructive ankle surgery, and then he immediately played. And so he's trying to pick up a new system and he's trying to get healthy all at the same time. It's not beneficial for anybody. But the biggest thing that we've seen is just the mental engagement and the mental growth that he's shown over the time that he's been away from us, so to speak. And again, he's another lefty that I think he's a guy that can do a little bit of everything. He can put it on the floor in short spaces. He can turn and shoot. He can score with his back to the basket. But defensively, he can guard the rim. He's athletic enough and he's long enough. And so again, I think he's a guy that gives us some different options in the post. And then obviously, I think you have to mention Torrey. Torrey is a guy that played some minutes for us last year, and again, he's 6'5", and his length and his athleticism. We'd love for him to be a little more under control, but right now, I don't care. I let him be out of control, just like his hair is. I mean, you guys will see next Wednesday. His hair is all over the place, but he's all over the place. So can't say much about that. But we're really excited about what he brings. Again, his leadership and his energy. It's infectious. It's contagious, especially in a gym where there'll be nobody but the two teams, the refs, and the people that are working the scores table. You need that energy and a self-starting energy, so to speak, from your team that hopefully can carry you through to a couple W's.
You talk about how his hair's out of control. Your coach, you're getting some hair out of control over here
Yeah,
too. You know,
yeah, I
you,
was looking at that, man. I was looking at that. Maybe I need to. My daughters were telling me I need to cut it off, but I don't know if I'm going to cut it off. Maybe trim it up a little bit, and then I'm noticing the grays. But
yep.
there's nothing I can do about that. I mean, we'll see.
Hey, you embrace the suck and you embrace the getting older,
No
man.
doubt. Embrace the suck, embrace my face changing and getting a lot uglier than it used to be. So we'll keep it moving.
Oh, goodness gracious. So you talk about those two sophomores, and then there are two more, Cameron and then Raul. What are your expectations from those two guys?
They're walk-ons for us, and we're super duper happy to have them in our program. And there'll be guys that will spend time for practice with us, practicing, giving us a look, and doing things that will help our program moving forward. But I think the most exciting thing for me is both of them are local. They both come from California. Cameron, I think, is from Nevada, but he might as well be in California because his dad coached at San Diego. His dad coaches at Loyola Marymount as an assistant now, and he's been at St. Mary's as an assistant. He's a former head coach at University of Nevada, and he's a mentor of mine. So I've known Cameron for a long time, and so for him to choose to come and be a part of our program, I think it says we're doing the right thing, and we're trying to highlight what those guys are doing. So we're super excited about Cam and Raul.
And let's finish up with the freshmen. These are guys, we've had a lot of transfers that we've talked about already, especially in the junior class. The freshmen, Dante Maddox Jr., you have Dr. Bradley, by the way, that is one really cool name. And then you have Latrell Wrightsell Jr.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the man with the awesome name first, Dr. Bradley, redshirt freshman. What are your expectations for someone that is a redshirt?
Again, I expect him to just kind of do what we think he can do, which is continue to grow, which is be an hellacious offensive rebounder, which is be a great defensive player. I think he's gotten stronger. I think his game has evolved, and mentally, I think he sees things differently than he may have done as a freshman. And so we're super excited about another guy that has had a year under his belt in our program, and hopefully that will mean something to him, but also mean something to our team in terms of the maturity and the experience of knowing different things, and he can tell them what to expect or tell them how to do certain things. But again, he's 6'8", he's long, he's super athletic. He's a guy that again that can do it all from that position. And we're really, really excited about him and looking forward to what he does on the floor. Because he's a freshman, so to speak, but he's got some experience in our program, and so we're looking for him to have a great impact on our program. And then you mentioned the other two freshmen, and they're true freshmen. And like most people, you get excited about your youth. And I'm most excited about what our staff has been able to accomplish with those two, namely Brandon Dunson. Really, really done an unbelievable job of recruiting the Midwest and bringing those two freshmen here to California, which I think is the best coast ever. But
Mm-hmm.
that's my own opinion.
Yep.
But we stole two guys. And then when I say stole, I mean we stole two guys out of the Midwest that we probably shouldn't have, because I think they are as talented as the day is long. They're typical freshmen. They'll do something that literally will make me run out of the gym and out to my office. But they're freshmen. The best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores, and I have to remember that. But they are as talented. They can shoot it. They can put it on the floor. They're great decision makers. You have to contend with them at the free throw line, or excuse me, you have to contend with them at the rim, passing. And then I think an area that they're going to really help us a lot is at the free throw line, making free throws. They can take and make a lot of free throws because their game um, is set up for that. And so those two guys, I mean, literally, we beat a couple of schools that probably we should have not even been in contention with. But again, kudos to our staff of identifying those guys. They're just, I can't say enough about them.
Does that mean possible big minutes for for those two freshmen?
I'm hoping so, man. I'm hoping so. But as we stated before, I hope that we kind of have a program that this year that is built on nobody playing more than 25, 26 minutes at a time, because I don't think you can play as hard as you need to be successful if you play more than that. Now, if you're in great shape and you can do that, obviously that's something that we're putting forward. But I think under the circumstances and under the time frame, we have to manage our expectations, and those expectations are that each person goes into the game 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time and play as hard as you possibly can, and then we sub, and then the next person goes in and does the same thing. That's what our hope is. And then obviously we want to graduate towards identifying 7 or 8 guys that really emulate what we're trying to do on the floor night in and night out as we get into conference play, because we play Friday, Saturday. Again, depth I think will be a huge proponent for us moving forward Friday and Saturday.
Starting five, what's it looking like?
I don't know. We were talking about that today as a staff, and I don't know if I don't know. I really don't know, because again, I mean, if we hadn't been shut down by the COVID, probably at least three, maybe four of those guys that we're looking to have big minutes, they were all hurt. Like Jalen Harris was hurt, Jalen Andrews was hurt, Latrell was hurt. And there was one more guy hurt. I think Torrey. He had just gone down with an ankle injury, and so right now, I don't know who starts. All I know is that you'll see a lot of guys on the floor for us, and we're just trying to find some type of rhythm, and really trying to play hard, really trying to play team basketball. And the guys that emulate that night in and night out, that's who you can expect to see.
So it seems to me that this, while the starting five, as everybody talks about, for you, it's more important who's going to be closing the games and who's going to be there at the end. It's going to be really a game by game basis, it seems, based on who's performing that game and who matches up best with the opponent. Does that make sense?
Wow, it makes a lot of sense. And you stole my thought right out of my head. I honestly was trying to figure out how to say that without saying, no, the starting five, I don't really care who they are. I'm more worried about who is going to produce and give us the best chance of winning as the game goes on. And different nights, it could be different people, or it could be it could be those same five. But I'm not drawn to who starts. I'm more infatuated with who finishes this game, and do they finish the game the way that we want to, giving us the best chance to win.
That makes sense. All right. We are wrapping things up. And before we do that, we got to hit up the mailbag.
Yeah,
D Taylor Coaches Show at gmail.com. We got two today. Let's start with someone that had a question last week. And because they are a two-time question asker, we will start with them. That's what happens. If you continue to send us questions, folks, you get priority here. Everyone's going to get their question asked,
yeah.
but if you go first, if you ask several times. Tim Vincent once again says, "Hi, Coach Dedrique. How is recruiting going for the 2021-2022 season? And will there be any early signings in December, or is it too early in the process for you? And also, will players be granted an extra year of eligibility because of this shortened season with the pandemic?" I'm assuming the answer to that one's going to be no. What about the first part?
Well, actually, the answer to that is going to be yes. The NCAA
Really?
already granted everybody, every student athlete, regardless of outcome, their year over again. So basically, if you're looking at
Wow.
freshmen, Dante and Latrell, they're freshmen. They'll be freshmen next year.
And will
They'll
they be a redshirt freshman, or they just be called freshmen again?
they'll be called freshmen, I guess. I don't know what they'll
Wow.
be called, but the NCAA has granted every student athlete um, their year back. And they put some wording in there in regards to the transfers and so on and so forth. But everybody will have an opportunity to come back. So recruiting is it's going to be different. It's going to be weird. Yes, we signed a guy early. His name is Grayson Carper. Super excited about him because again, he's 6'7". He can do everything. He can shoot it. He's athletic enough to go up and make plays above the rim. He can guard people. He comes from a winning culture. He's a teammate of Landon Spivey, who's on our team right now from Columbia College. And so we're really, really excited about him. And we've only signed one guy early. And the NCAA has granted us, you still have the 13 scholarships that they give you. But if you go over, above, and beyond, they will give you permission to carry that for the following year. But you have to raise those funds. Those funds come from you either fundraising or doing something different for your ball club to carry those guys. And so that's something that we'll look at, at the end of the year or when that time comes. But recruiting again is going to be really, really weird. The NCAA has extended the dead period, which means we can't go out and recruit live up through our season. So right now it's extended through I think March 31st,
Mhm.
2021. So there'll be
Okay.
no live scouting. Yeah, we're still fielding phone calls. We're still looking at video, and we're still trying to get familiar as we can with the class of 2021, whether it be junior colleges, whether it be freshmen. The other class that will make itself available is in January. There's going to be a rule passed that will allow you as a one-time transfer to be immediately eligible at the next institution. That goes into effect in January. And so there'll be three classes: freshman
That's
class, high
huge.
school, there'll be transfers, and then obviously junior colleges. So we got a lot to pick and choose from, which sometimes can come off as overwhelming, sometimes can be a lot. But I think if you know exactly what you're looking for and what your needs are, you can do a good job addressing those. And we plan to do that moving forward, just like everybody. We'll do what we can to make sure we answer the bell from a recruiting standpoint.
Wow. Well, my apologies, Tim, because that turned out to be a very good question. That
Yeah,
second one, that I did not realize
yeah,
that they got an extra year of eligibility. That's fantastic. So, wow, that's crazy, man.
yeah.
This is going to sound like a ridiculous question. So, take it for what it's worth. When you have this many choices, when you have obviously these guys that are going to be going from freshman to freshman, and then you have guys that you're expecting to graduate when because you plan this out 3 or 4 years in advance. So you're looking at it, you're like, all right, I'm anticipating these seniors are going to be gone.
Yeah.
Does it get to a point where it's, hey, you better work your butt off or you may not have a scholarship next year? Is that too harsh? Is that a
Oh,
thing that actually happens?
I think it's a reality that we as coaches have to face, and it's a bigger reality for the young men that are in that position, because I think there are going to be a lot of schools in that scenario where the guy spent 4 years in their program and has a degree and either is not producing or he's got a better chance of going and helping somebody on a pro level. There'll be some really, really hard conversations towards that. But I think the scenario you brought up is more realistic than most people are probably giving credit for right now.
Mm.
Because everybody's concerned about winning, everybody's concerned about taking advantage of this time that we have on the floor and so on and so forth. But in recruiting, I think any coach that doesn't or isn't looking at that as a realistic conversation and a realistic possibility, I don't think they're being very smart.
Interesting. Final question from Mark. Mark, I believe your last name is pronounced Amard. My apologies if it's pronounced incorrectly. Coach Taylor, if you were selected basketball's supreme leader for a day, what change to the game of basketball would you implement? My rule change would be to eliminate the 3 point line. Every game lately seems to turn into a 3 point shooting contest, and it just seems one dimensional. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would eliminate the 3 pointer because of shooting, the ability to shoot. Teams that can shoot, they have a lot of success, and three is more than two, no matter how you do the math. Three is way more than two, and so
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily eliminate that. One rule that I would enact is, and I take it from the NBA, is everybody wants to increase scoring. They want to go from what they score to higher scoring. I would take out the NBA. I would take out the 3 second rule or put in the 3 second rule from a defensive standpoint. Clear out the lane. You can only be in the lane 3 seconds. Like right now in college, you like I preach, live on the midline to clog up the lane.
Mhm.
to clog up the lane. I want to protect the basket at all costs, and I think everybody does at the college level. But if you take a step or take a page out of the NBA book, they don't clog up the lane, and so that's when you see guys that are able to finish one on one, and because they're not necessarily going through a shot blocker. If that shot blocker comes, they get two on the ball. And good NBA teams, like we just saw with the world champion, I'll say it again, the world champion Los Angeles Lakers, what we saw with them is that they find the extra guy, and that guy finds the extra pass. And now all of a sudden defense is scrambling and they can never catch up.
Mhm.
But I think that would improve the pace of play in terms of scoring. You'd see more plays made in the paint and there'd be less fouls, I think, if you did that, took out or put in the NBA rule with the 3-second call.
Interesting. All right, one final one, then we're going to go. And this is from me. Now that you brought that up, it made me think of something. Would you rather have the 2 20-minute halves or the 4 10-minute quarters that you see on the women's side?
I don't know. I'm so used to the 20-minute halves to where I'm biased towards the 20-minute halves.
Mhm.
One thing with the women do that I will, again, another rule change would be to advance the ball from the back court to the front court by calling a timeout. I don't know that I necessarily have an opinion in regards to 20 minutes versus the quarters. I haven't studied the impact on the games that much, but I do know being able to advance the ball, I think it'll change the game and make for a much, much more exciting game because now everybody has to execute in the half court.
Yeah.
You have to, your coaches now you have to draw up a good play in the half court versus if it's in the back court, teams can press or they can do all kinds of things. And I think, it's not as aesthetically pleasing as I would like it to be.
Well, that was a good mailbag. We got 2 questions that were from fantastic listeners and also 2 questions that I thought of. So there you go. An extended mailbag here today, a roster breakdown as we get ready for the season opener. It's finally here, Dedrique. Best of luck to you. We'll be back next week to recap those games and look ahead. And for everybody, go ahead, give us a 5-star rating, review the podcast as well, share it, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Coach has his Twitter, CSF Coach Taylor. I'm at BD Marcus. You can see all the stuff there as well. Coach, good luck this week.
Thank you. We need it. We need it. We got 3 games or hoping to get 3 games in a week's time in 7 days. And so we're gonna need that luck, but more importantly, an opportunity to go play. I mean, I can't believe it's December 6th and we're just now coming up on our first game. I mean, that's hard to believe, but 2020, embrace the suck and make the best out of it.
Yep. We'll be back next time on the Dedrique Taylor Coaches Show.
All right. Take care.